Oh, there's one. Oh, there we go. Oh, there's a nice Lake Winnipeg walleye. This is an absolute tank of a walleye. This is about as big as they get, gang. Look at this. Oh, look at that fish. What a giant. You know, when we come out here, it's amazing because we fish aggressive. And a good friend of mine, Roger Stearns, and I, we got into this crankbait thing. Look at this thing. That's a Rippin Rap. That's a Rattling lipless crankbait. What I do, I tip it with a little minnow just to give it a little scent. And we actually sit there and we just rip that rod, and the mark appears. And if they're a least bit hungry, they just come and smoke that thing. And there's proof right there. That is a giant. We are gonna put this fish right back in the water and let her go, and maybe somebody else will catch it another day and it'll be a pound or two heavier. You know, when you fish big, giant bodies of water like this, and there's giant schools of these giant fish out here, I'm not saying it's easy, but put the odds in your favor. There's a big reason why we use rattling crankbaits. It attracts them in from a distance. If fish are 20 yards, 30 yards from you, they can hear the rattling. And if it's a bunch of fish in a school and you're fishing with 2 or 3 friends, all of a sudden everybody has a rattling crankbait on and you start working those baits, those fish will actually stay in the area, and he'll catch 2, he'll catch 3, I'll catch 4, and it just keeps going. And when it quits, another big tip is just, we call them mini moves. Just move over 20, 30, 40 yards, drill new holes. The key is the shiners. They follow those giant schools of shiners, and that's their life. So it's up to you to intercept those fish that are looking for these schools of shiners. And one of the best ways is fish 3-4 guys fairly close together. And winter time here in Manitoba, you can use 2 rods. Always have a rattling bait on one of them. It's huge for bringing them in close to the area you're fishing. You know, the way I like to work the bait, depending on what the fish want that day, I like to sit here and rip it like a foot, 1.5 feet up and get the rattles really to rattle good. And a lot of times that fish will come in from the side. You will not even see it on a locator, it just smashes you. And those are the glory days. Those are the days they're really biting. But one thing, when they are not biting, they still bite that rattling crankbait, but you have to change the way you use it. And what I like to do is, if I mark a fish on a locator, I lift, and all I do is give it that little shake like that. And the bait doesn't hardly move, but it moves enough to just keep rattling, and I keep lifting and lifting and lifting. If he keeps coming and coming and he doesn't bite, and I do that 2 or 3 times, what I do is I like to lift it up past him, and then I just drop it just underneath him on the locator and rip it up once fast. And a lot of times, I don't know, they snap out of their little sleepy zone or something, they just inhale it. And it'll be right down their throat, right down. So you gotta really play with these rattling crankbaits, and on a certain day you have to do certain things to really focus in on what they want. There's days they will smash them, there's days they will just tick them, and there's days that they will not even bite them. But it's up to you to figure out how to fish that bait on that certain day, and it's a big key. You know, another important point is with my LCD, I watch how I work the bait. And then, you know, I know that when I lifted it quick, he bit it, and you could see it on there, how fast you lifted and what they want that day. And I do prefer the LCD units because I can use that, mark waypoints, save my route, I can get off the lake safely, and it really shows you the way the fish want the bait. You'll see on the LCD how slow they rise up or if they charge up. If they want it really fast, I can watch it on there, and I know I'm ripping it fast. I could see, okay, that's how they want it. I could see that bait just ripping and darting, and they're not biting it. I will slow it down and I'll just lift, and all of a sudden I see one he's interested, and he comes and he smashes it. It's so key, watching your electronics. And you do get a history of what you're doing. Even when you look away and you look back, it's still on the screen what happened. So even if you look away and there's, you know, you're talking to your friend and you look back, oh, there's a fish there. It gives you that little bit of history, which is pretty cool. On a flasher, you do not get no history. It's instant. I was never an indoor shack fisherman, so I fished these 5'2" Rapala R-type rods. I like to use the Suffix 832 with a swivel and about a 2-foot fluorocarbon leader, 10-pound test. And that's basically all you need for the winter gear. This 832 10-pound is super strong. You can really pull in some big fish and not worry about breaking your line. And that swivel is very important. When you start jerking your bait and it's moving around, you'll get a lot of line twist. But with the swivel,
wow,
2 feet up, it
Lake
totally
Winnipeg
takes away any
monsters.
kind of line twist, so you have less headaches while you're out fishing in the winter. This is what I started with today. The fish were more aggressive. You could see the size difference. Quite a bit bigger bait, a bigger profile. And they were biting it this morning. Then the fish would always come up on the locator, watch it, and not bite it. My favorite trick, downsize to something that small. Still, you want the rattles. And here's a real neat tip. When they're finicky, I take a shiner or a chub minnow, rip it in half. I put it on the hook, through the eyes. And I got this little tool here, it's called bait button. It's got little rubber inserts in there. You shake it, one drops in that little slot. And all you do is put your jig through it like that. And wow, that little rubber stopper holds your bait on. It'll stay on till you catch a fish. And that's a huge key. When they're finicky, you have to have that little chunk on the bottom. The majority of the time, right where that scent is, that's the hook they get hooked on, right there, the one underneath the center of the bait. They come up and they just grab it like that, and that's usually the hook. A lot of times you probably don't even need that back hook, but that's where they get hooked. And that little piece of meat on there can make the difference between catching and watching. You watch them come all day long, but to catch them, you have to do little tips like that to get the one on the ice like I just caught. Don't put those crankbaits away when winter comes. Load up a little box of them, whether it's Rattlin Raps, Rippin Raps, LiveTargets, Lucky Craft. And a big key out here is experimenting with size, color, and every one of them rattles a little different. So on certain days, 1 or 2 of those baits will work way better than some of the others. But do not put away your summertime crankbaits. Bring them with you and you will catch some big fish on them.
Oh look, they're feeding on rapalas. That's my favorite color on this body of water. Look at this beautiful fish. That is a tank. I love it.